So, April 2nd, 2024. We had a trading day now, on this Tuesday NFP week. And, well, if we compare it to yesterday, it was a harder day, right? Yesterday was, by my standards at least, way easier to understand than today was. So, let's start with how we should always start, right? Top down at all times. First of all, I want to share, the people who were here yesterday. The draw was the weekly fair value gap lower for now, catching an ERL to IRL move. I was going to concentrate on the ES, but you also had a similar move to retrace to this weekly order block right here on NASDAQ. So I'm in a weekly chart right now, in case you didn't see. Whenever you're confused, at the bottom of my charts right here, you can see it, or top right here. So that was the target. And if we go look at our daily chart and we look at our current weekly power of 3, we'll see that we've put up a high. Yes, indeed. But is it a clean high? Not at all. I'm going to hide my power of 3 for the monthly chart. It's not a clean high yet, which would lead us to believe what? Well, this to be a fake move, right? To be a manipulation lower instead of seeing it as distribution lower. The only problem with this is taking time into account, right? Second quarter of the month, second quarter of the year, first week of the month. It would be very hard for me to think that having SMT at that time, it wouldn't hold. That would be very hard to accept right here. So we had SMT at the highs, by the way, on yesterday. And I want that to hold and dive in deeper. If we dive lower to our lower time frame charts, we see something pretty interesting. So we had new week opening gap right here. And as you can see today, specifically during London, if we go and check, I'm going to remove my drawings real quick. During London, we traded within the new week opening gap from this week, after of course expanding through, rebalancing it, and then went back up. We traded within it, creating high of day right here. This high of day also had, we just go to an hourly chart, also had, okay, here's how we're going to put it. This is not SMT, right? But I can clearly tell that NASDAQ is stronger than ES at this point. How? With proximity, right? If we compared this external range liquidity right here to this one, we can see the comparison in terms of proximity. If we also look at where we are within the range, you can see right here we have a fair value gap, and on NASDAQ we don't, right? That was the big expansion where we had that 930 Judas swing from yesterday. So the difference in inefficiencies here are quite in your face, if you can say it like that. If we dive down to a 15-minute chart and look at high of day right here, same thing, right? You see the divergence, but there is no SMT present specifically at those levels, right? So you won't always have SMT when looking at high of day, low of day, but it is what we use for Confluence. So as for myself, that's definitely not an interesting move. But once we dive deeper, specifically we look at this morning session on New York. This is the wrong day. Give me a second, sorry. Right here. We look at morning session New York, and let's compare both in the SMT screen. Don't know why I'm on delayed data. This has not been refreshed. Give me a second. All right, there we go. Had to pay the market subscription earlier today. So if I go back down in here and I look at New York Open, again, what is in your face? Well, SMT. Right here, of course, this is not SMT, but it is divergence. That's how I want you guys to think at the moment. So yes, it is not SMT, but what is it? It is divergence. And yes, if we go compare YM as well, you'll find SMT pretty easily between these highs, right? So ES did, well, it created a higher high first and then created a lower low when you compare these swing points together. It's just not the type of SMT that I'm going to trade off of specifically. And also, what did we have? 10 a.m. news. And what do I look for when I think about news? I look for a Judas swing. So if I'm looking at this, this is the 10 a.m.'s opening, by the way, on ES. Let's just say I put it on NASDAQ too. This could be a Judas swing creating a low. So I'm expecting expansion higher. But what did we have overnight? A large overnight move, right? How many handles is that on NASDAQ? We had 300 handle move overnight. So do you really expect New York to do anything other than accumulate? No. Right? So again, as we had a lot of example last week, especially for the first price action review I did, or today is just the type of day you had to stay away. Were there opportunities? Plenty, right? The big one that is in your face is this. Well, at least for me, it was this divergence. I like to start by looking at divergence. What do we have? Right here, we dug into this swing low, sweeping it. Right here, what we do? We went into this resistance block and pushed higher. So unless you were positioned at that specific time, the rest of the day was just a retracement, a high resistance retracement that did offer some setups. For example, I saw a friend of mine took a long here, but he waited to see displacement higher, entered right here, got stopped out right here, and then re-entered and kept going. But see, thinking like that, when you're unexperienced or you're unprofitable, you're not even profitable yet, is what will put you down, if I can say it like that. So even just looking at SMT, right, look at how much SMT there was, and it just kept going down, right? If you look at this low specifically, that's what I had in mind. I was looking at this and this, right? These lows, let me draw it out. These lows right here, you can see that, okay, well, ES is stronger, retracing to this inefficiency while NASDAQ swept it, sure. But then what changes? It goes to the opposite correlation. So now one is making a lower low while the other is printing highers. Oh, right here, sorry. So it just switches. It switches right here. You can see NASDAQ put up a high, did a higher high, while ES makes equal, breaks it right after. So when you compare these points, you'll see that it is just uncorrelated. Meaning what? We're consolidating. What do we wait to tell you that we're done consolidating? You need a sweep of one side of the range, and then expansion, displacement away. You had that on ES right here. But when did that happen? During lunch. See, so any type of setup, at least based on my rule set, is low probability for this day, unless you entered right here off of this inverted fair value gap retap, which is what I did. Because I didn't have time to get in on this level, I should have turtle soup right here. But then I had not the inverse fair value gap. I traded NASDAQ right here, this fair value gap. I entered here, had a white stop right under this candle. I got super close to hitting my drawdown, and then I trailed it up here. Trailed it up here actually, but under the volume imbalance, because volume imbalance price will spike towards it, trying to close inside of it. So, and whenever you're using a volume imbalance to calculate a stop, one handle below it is always the rule. So you have the low right here, and you would put it one handle below. Well, at least that's a rule that has worked well for me. And as you can see right here, price just spiked back into it, even though it already went there. But again, I'm not going to go in depth specifically about the trades that were available, because I do not think they are worth your time, your attention. You should not be looking at trying to learn how to trade this, a range-bound market. You can. There are plenty of scalping techniques and opportunities that you could have used. And you know, you also had a lunge continuation, right? You could have looked for 130 Judas swing right here, caught that low, but then you would have gotten range. You were in a range-bound market for so long, and then once we swept that, then we started going up. But even then, That's a 60 handle move. Let's just call it 75 because I put it a little in the wrong way. 75 is not big enough for me to consider this move high probability. I have a minimum framework of 40 handles. Before me to count a move as high probability, I need to be trading towards the daily expansion. And if I'm trading on a day that before New York Open has already done like 280 handles, I have a very low probability to be onside with the daily expansion, meaning what? I'm going to trade a retracement to a close, right? If you guys think TGIF, that's pretty much what we did. We did a retracement to a close. We went back to, did we go back to 42%? I'm going to look at equilibrium. Let's check it out. 0.42. We did retrace to 42%. That's just a thing I'm back testing recently. But see, we were just retracing, and it was a high resistance retracement to get back to a premium of our previous day or range. Right? If we have a look real quick at a 5-minute chart, you can see that we had some clear opportunities when, for example, we retraced right here after a market structure shift. That, I believe, well, I don't see liquidity to the left, but there clearly is the 2022 model, right? ICT's 2022 model. But what I really saw was right here, we were in our weekly fair value gap at this point. I'm going to draw it out just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Right here. Let's just extend that to the right. There we go. So weekly fair value gap. Of course, this is not inverting it to me. This is, we're still within it because, well, it's a weekly inefficiency. I can see us wick down all the way and not have to come back to that. But we can also use PDA recorders. Again, I'm not going to teach them, but that is something that you guys can learn if it interests you. It's just good for precision. And if you see on ES right here, the big thing that I'm looking at is not this. Okay, sure, SMT here, expansion higher, respect of that level. Okay, we want to get out of here. This is the wick from this order block. This high probability order block top wick is what I'm using right here. And I didn't look at this specifically, but I could have looked at that wick too, which would have gotten me the same idea. We're utilizing these levels, accumulating through it to retrace higher. So again, is there opportunity on a day like this? Yes. Do we want to trade it? For myself, no. I don't need that. I can get one good trade and 2 losses a week and be very profitable. That's what I'm trying to concentrate myself on. Instead of being super aggressive and taking every setup I see, I'm trying to teach myself to trade only the best and the best of setups. So today, my funded accounts got 0 trades. I did trade on my combines. I have some Top Step combines at the moment running on their new platform. I did trade on those, and I ended up little profit, nothing crazy. But see, you want to concentrate on high probability conditions, and just with the overnight move, you should have closed your chart before even 9:30. Bye. I'm out. You know, there's no point in trading these. You're going to lose way more times than you will win, and your wins will be barely profitable, meaning it will barely cover your losses. You know, I've been doing a lot of backtesting with my coding, and what I've noticed is sometimes something is profitable. That doesn't mean you should trade it. It's profitable in 1,000 trade. This thing makes me 3R. That's not worth it. That's not profitable in my eyes. So of course I'm going to tell you guys to concentrate on things like that. But again, we were looking at a higher time frame retracement lower, possibly an expansion, meaning we're going to disrespect these. What would tell me that? Well, if we expand through this, I'm going to look for an expansion through this swing low, this liquidity right here. And I just marked it out as lower time frame external, so it is not going to show up. But right here, I want to see an expansion through this low. From this is again the weekly chart. So what do I want to see get formed? A market structure shift. to go target this low resistance liquidity into further down, which is when you would start looking at a monthly chart, looking for this range right here. So we'll see if we are indeed gonna displace towards lower prices. Do you guys have any questions about something specific that happened today? You know, were you confused at some point? Well, on a day like this, it is pretty normal, but was there any moment where you guys had a question about a specific thing that happened in the PA? No answers. I'm gonna take that as a no. So again, guys, nothing very technical today. Just look at the overnight move and don't trade. It's that stupid, that simple, but you gotta hold yourself accountable. If you're not, I'm gonna do it for you. You know, just journal this shit. Say it. Large overnight move. What is a large overnight move? Anything above 150 handles, I don't even consider it unless we have a very high impact news that day. For example, if we have NFP, well, that never happens. Let's just say if we have CPI and I see an overnight move of 150 handles, I'm still allowed to trade because CPI is a crazy volatility injector, liquidity injector. So I'm going to be looking at that. On that note, guys, I wish you guys a great night, but that will be all for today.